Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of... I don't think we actually have a title for this one. Maybe we can just call it a 2 centile episode, or maybe this will be a podcast. But either way, one thing remains the same. I'm your friendly neighborhood host and sometimes referee, Zach Stat Pearson, and today I'm joined by an officer who is without equal, the Irregular Hunter 9000 plus one himself, Officer 9000.
Hey, how you doing?
So I'm pretty sure you realize, because you've been in every video where it's come up, for a very long time I've made mention that, I can do a better job managing the MegaMan franchise and everything about it than Capcom can, or rather, I know what Capcom directly should do with the franchise. Doesn't mean they will do it, I acknowledge that fact, but it's not hard. But as we learned with a lot of the gaming industry, especially with the older companies, some of the simplest things become stupidly complex to the point of essentially stressing out their old employees, or their old employees giving up hope for, true creativity to be brought to the idea table, because some corporate overlord is going to say, well, that doesn't make us a stupid excessive amount of money. And then dumping it into a fire.
The money.
Yeah, and then dumping it into a fire despite it being a successful idea or a good idea. It's a tale as old as time. And one of the biggest offenders and perpetrators outside of Sega in that regard is Capcom, unfortunately. For a very long time now, I've made mention directly and indirectly on multiple episodes throughout multiple years. I am well aware of the lack of comprehension that Capcom seems to have with their own franchise in relation to MegaMan, while simultaneously respecting it and having full comprehension of what they're doing. So instead of having a very, 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 very long podcast about what should Capcom do with MegaMan, I'm gonna try to get some thoughts put together that have been stored in the back of my head on and off for, at this point, Jesus Christ, I think 2 decades? Fuck me. And once that happens, I'm just going to see how people feel about it. Now, don't get me wrong, as this channel is well aware, most people who have a comment or have an opinion directly text me because of all the thousands upon thousands of people who see these videos, or I guess hundreds, depending on who you ask. The majority of the people who do anything relating to commenting usually text me directly or hit me up on social media because they're someone I know in my personal life. I'm not complaining. But this is one of those situations where I want to make sure I finally cement what I'm trying to say and how I feel it should be. And to whom it may concern, which I believe is really just Capcom, yes, I am well aware you are never going to see this video. I am not optimistic like that. But I will be realistic and say, in the event that you do, I have absolutely no issue with you utilizing these ideas. I have no plans whatsoever to take any legal action against you, if that's even possible, nor do I want to, because I want to see these things happen without repercussion. So let's get into it. First and foremost, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to try to go in MegaMan based chronological order. For the uninitiated, that is MegaMan, that is X, that is Legends. Then you go directly into Battle Network, Z, ZX, and we'll have honorable mentions such as Command Mission, and we will go into MegaMan Future. First and foremost, MegaMan's format, as far as game design, is kind of sort of, for lack of a better term, what you would call traditional. Deviations are a rarity, and most deviations lack any true creativity or uniqueness. And if they are, they do not make it past their initial game that they are perceived to have started from 9 times out of 10. We are now at MegaMan 11 or MegaMan 12. That's kind of high. Now, as someone who has played MegaMans 1 through 9 to completion and kind of sort of legitimately lost interest in everyone that came after that, I will be the first to tell you that yes, it is a very marketable formula. You have to look at it almost like Mario. Mario essentially does the same thing, but they give him a new feature and function for one title that may never show up again. Looking at you, SUDS system or whatever that water pressure system was from Mario Sunshine. Oh wait, it does show up in Smash Brothers. Whoop-de-doo. Let his format evolve. Let someone else who has had far less marketing and screen time and sequels, be in that slot of somehow being different but the same simultaneously. Okay? In fact, I recommend that the ZX series go into that slot. Yes, you can increase the production values, you can increase the enemy type, the stage types, but let Mega Man evolve. Let him progress. Motherfucker still can't jump on walls. Look, Mega Man should move into time travel, or rather dimension hopping, whichever one Capcom sees fit. I think Mega Man should have the option to be missing and no one knows why he's missing in X, be a myth or a coincidence that his name is also considered to be Mega Man in Mega Man Legends, and in Mega Man Z he considers it a violent hellscape that he would try to avoid happening if he can figure out how to go back into the proper timeline that he's from. Personally, let the chase for Wily die. During Mega Man 8, we got a small glimpse into a different type of evil. A foreign evil that was otherworldly, literally, hence why we got Duo. Let Mega Man and Duo work together, get new forms or really a redesign. Let Mega Man not be a boy and let him actually look to have the appearance of an adult, kind of sort of like X. Please, let him do other things than jump, shoot, slide, and throw out an elemental attack. He's earned it. He's old enough to rent a car, vote, and drink, and smoke. And yet, he's basically the same. Throw Proto Man in there too. Let them all get lost in time or in outer space and just figuring out how to get home. Let this be the official Mega Man RPG. Let this be the series where Mega Man can meet old foes, he can meet new friends, and he can also occasionally dip through time, or if he does get back to Earth, wherever he may be, eventually meet the other characters. Please, just let him see what his legacy grows to be. Please. Now moving into X, well, let's be honest. We all want X9. We don't want it to be that FPS stuff that they were trying to do. I would show footage, but if memory serves, Capcom's still kind of salty about that even getting leaked out. So maybe I won't, or I'll just do a screenshot. But in case I don't do any of that, or I can't do any of that without the video being taken down numerous times, there was an attempt to make Mega Man X a reboot, similar to the veins of Devil May Cry. Yeah, I still have nightmares about that one too. Now in that case, essentially it was a first-person shooter. X didn't have a face, and I'm not even sure how Zero was going to function if he was even brought up in the slightest. Listen, Mega Man X has been popular enough to have their own variants, continuations, side stories, etc., etc. Please turn this into a true and genuine action game, and yes, put it back in a 3D perspective. Capcom, you have enough people in-house, and you can also outsource enough people to conveniently make sure the game can function. Devil May Cry is your modern / gothic angel versus devil scenario themed after both Cobra and, quite literally, Dante's Inferno the book. Well, what do you really have in your sci-fi sector? You had a 2013 Strider sequel. I think it was in 2013, maybe 2015, I don't know. And that's it. Capcom, your sci-fi games beginning in with Exo Primal, okay? It seems like there is a natural interest in trying to have that aesthetic be more prevalent, or at least put some effort into it within the company, or at least the people the company chooses to produce their titles, okay? Why can't we have Zero controlling like he was in a Devil May Cry game? Why can't we have Zero controlling like he was in Bayonetta? And the same for X from Mega Man X, okay? You got so close with Mega Man X8. Mega Man X8 was a refinement of a formula, and then you said, nope, let's not make it 3D ever again as far as movement options, when you didn't even need to. Listen, all you have to do, and I cannot stress this enough, with a lot of these titles is evolve the formula so they have delineation and differentiation. Because if I play Mega Man X, and I know Mega Man 12, 13, 14, umpteenth is going to come out as a new person or someone who hasn't touched a franchise in decades because Capcom doesn't know what the hell they're doing. And I don't mean that in a derogatory way. I mean that in the you've expressed that you don't know what direction you should go in, or you don't have a set direction, which means you don't know what direction you should go in. I want to be able to distinguish these Mega Men and their offspring. Let Mega Man X be Capcom's sci-fi cooperative Devil May Cry style format game. You don't need to make them long. You don't need to spend a massive amount of money. You just need to make the, I guess, what you would call the equivalent of an A or a AA game with Mega Man X, have multiple playable characters. They don't need to be necessarily a part of the story. Again, you built the groundwork with Devil May Cry 4 Special Edition. Now it's time to build up on that, Lego style. It's not hard. You could even have DLC where X turns into other different versions of his armors. Seriously, it's right there. It's right there. Moving into Legends. Wow, man, that one's really hard. I guess we go make Mega Man Legends 3. Just go make Mega Man Legends 3. Almost everything I stated about X and Mega Man applies to 3 automatically. You already were updating the gameplay format and evolving the style. It was going to be an adventure game. It still could be. You don't need to have extremely technical combat. You had a story that was interesting, and it genuinely did not fucking matter that it was, for lack of a better term, very comical and PG-13 and lighthearted. People didn't mind it. Please, make Mega Man Legends 3. Go get the exact same people who had started on it. Go get the exact same people who were working on it. And just tell them, hey, you're not going to be on the 3DS anymore. You're going to be on the Switch and whatever comes after the Switch. Just let them fix what they wanted to fix. Oh, and have more playable characters. And more customization options for those other playable characters. The whole, instead of changing to an elemental attack, but changing your actual weapon to offensive or defensive, that was pretty clever. A lot of people liked it. And also, you had missions and story mode stuff that the characters could do that will be unique to them. And it can always stand out, which means Legends would be distinguishable. And if you really stop and think about it, Mega Man Legends is one of the first Mega Man to show us outside of Battle Network what else Mega Man could be. Because if you look at Mega Man, it's essentially just Mega Man X with less features and a smaller budget. At least until you get to like 8, I guess. And even then, it was just 8 that had that extremely high, at the time, modern budget. At least from what I can find in old writings and interviews. Now when we get to 0, it's a little bit different. Mega Man 0 had its beginning, which is Mega Man X, its middle, which is Mega Man 0, and its end, which is Mega Man 04. Just remake the entire series. Remake the entire series, one good time, make it one story in one game. Do not go and do every single game individually, and go in there and turn it into the adventure game that we didn't get with Legends. Let Zero's armor be customizable. Let Zero's blade be customizable. Let Zero keep getting new weapons or modification to his weapons till eventually he goes from how he controlled in Mega Man 01 and how the weapons work all the way through to Mega Man 04, and then you also get the option to change back and forth. Let this one have extremely technical gameplay style like a Devil May Cry. This can be the one that's the most experimental because you know it's a one of. Yes, as much as I like it, I will acknowledge that some of these series need to have a beginning, middle, and end. And Zero's is one of the most clear-cut ones. You don't have to end the character, obviously, but you can end it right there. Just turn Mega Man 0 into an adventure series, one game. He gets every single weapon type he had. Yes, people will get tired of fighting the same bosses over and over again, but guess what? They won't have to worry after this because it's all one story. Or you can make it Mega Man 0 Part 1, which goes through games 1 and 2 on 1, 2, and 3. And then it goes into Part 2 when that comes out, and it's games 3 and 4. Okay? And again, you don't have to have this $100 million budget. You can make it an A or a AAA game. Lower resolution or make it cell shaded, give it a toon shader. And again, have combat experts who worked on Devil May Cry working on this. There's already a man making a Devil May Cry orientated combat style for a Mega Man 0 fan game. And I'm sure, like everyone else who forgets to keep that stuff on YouTube and not just keep it in Discord, eventually one day Capcom will come for this man's head. And I will be sad on that day. Because without knowing this man, he almost came to a similar conclusion to me. Shoutouts to someone I don't want to name because I don't want to indirectly or directly increase the chances of Capcom crushing what you're doing, man. Because you're crushing it. Pun intended. Now, when it comes to the ZX series, the ZX series to me is where we can have that traditional Mega Man successor. Let ZX have time travel and let ZX actually progress the story that is involved with Mega Man, Dr. Wily, Dr. Light, X, and Zero. Take every single main character, pair them up, let them be 3D characters in a 2D space, give them new techniques, team attacks, let them be able to switch out with different people, have different reasons to explore different areas. Don't just do a stage, make actual areas. You could have a level 1 and a level 2 region. Level 1 region has a boss, level 2 region has a boss, but you can only get to one of the region's bosses at any given time, and then you have to unlock some new ability or special function, which usually is how things go when you get your new armor pieces in the other games, to be able to access them and let these characters be able to synchronize and synergize with abilities and techniques that they can glean from older enemies, or because they technically are a lot more advanced, emulate them with the biometal system that was first featured in that series. So one of the biggest distinguishing features between Z and ZX, its successor series, is the ZX characters have the ability to utilize functions that come essentially directly from their enemies. So basically everybody got a Sharingan. However, when you get to ZX Advent, its sequel, well, they kind of sort of all get the Axle in them, which is probably where they got that idea from. The Z is for zero. The X is for X, because your characters theoretically start off having similar abilities based off of these quote-unquote legendary heroes who don't have names. And then you get the A is for Axel, or Model A. And as we know, what made Axel special, besides being a character who somehow can shoot in multiple directions, but Capcom couldn't figure that shit out, he could actually turn into different enemies. So you would be your playable character, you would have their brain, but you would have their body, appearance, and abilities. That's kind of cool. So I honestly don't see what the issue is with that. You now have a super Mega Man who can do things Mega Man barely touched on, and you also have evolved the formula. Oh, Mega Man gets one special attack that looks similar to something from the original enemy, whilst he's using a copy of it, basically, you know, a taller version of Kirby. Nope. Now you become your enemy. You wear your enemy's skin. There you have it, so to speak. Now, we're going to go into some of the big boys, or the more recent era movers and shakers, although recent is a relative term, all things considered. So for some of you, Mega Man Battle Network's franchise and marketing and promotion rivaled essentially the original Mega Man. As most of you know, with any Japanese gaming company, especially in the 80s and 90s, their job was to basically try to dip their characters' toes into anything they could think of, and I don't just mean toys. So that didn't really all hit over here until Battle Network happened, and it was only specifically written in Battle Network because, although it's not mentioned now, Battle Network was one of the best rivals to the whole concept of Pokemon. Now, many people will tell you that their franchises are as different as night and day, that you can't compare them, or you shouldn't, because how they function and their features are completely different. And I'm here to tell you whatever gets you to sleep at night, homie. Look, Battle Network had television shows, it had graphic novels, it had toys, and I believe it was partially featured in its own physical card game on multiple occasions. I didn't play them though, because I knew they weren't going to last. So look, that hasn't really happened for any other version of Mega Man that came over into North America. X has his own entire model kit or action figure line that again practically has never made it to North America. Mega Man's toys were few and far between, and most of them seem to be based off of, quite literally, the non-existent cartoon version of Mega Man, the super fighting robot. Yeah, that guy. Fun fact, he was also voiced by Goku. And Proto Man was voiced by the guy who played Dual Maxwell. Can't remember their names, this is Mega Man video, not gonna get into it. This franchise is so big that it legitimately has exclusive fans. Now let me tell you what I mean by that. An exclusive fan is essentially someone whose sole interest in a franchise is based on one particular body of work. Meaning, if they like Battle Network, that doesn't mean that they're always gonna magically play Mega Man or get in X or any of the other things that came out. In fact, if memory serves, Mega Man Battle Network, minus one game called Battle Chip Challenge, is the only Game Boy Advance game outside of Pokemon to still have tournaments to this day. To this day. That's how fun Battle Network was. Or should I say is, now that it's back on practically everything. Look, it's not hard. All you have to do is make a Battle Network sequel. Stop making them children. Let Mega Man age, let Lan age. And since technically Mega Man is a hybrid existence, he actually can grow to some extent. You can put in a good reasoning for Mega Man to magically want to leave Lan alone, or you could do something like something takes over and corrupts Mega Man, and you need to have your whole team essentially help you get him back. But Lan needs a new temporary net Navi, and let Land get a net navi called X, and Zero decides to help him and they become friends over time. Make up a scenario where we can just get a unique navi with a dual existence looking for another unique navi with a dual existence, okay? And then Land also has to wrestle with what happens when you're an actual adult. You know, you want to find this net navi, but the world don't care. You got to pay your bills, you got to feed your kids, you got to do what you got to do to survive. Basically, some type of Persona-esque version of the MegaMan Battle Network series. You can still keep the grid, but make the characters 3D. That was a very unique RPG combat format. Obviously evolve it to some extent, you know, maybe make layers to the grid. Like instead of just tiles and panels, there's also floors. Sometimes you can just jump up to them, or you have to use special chips to get up to them, or sometimes there's stage areas that you can't get to unless your character has some type of mobility chip on them. And of course, when they get armors or special weapons, you can get rid of those chips so you can have more combat-based abilities. There are so many routes that you can take Battle Network, it's not even funny. The only thing that they really need to change verbatim that I know for a fact is they need to make it 3D. They need to change it from that basic grid. They need to add layers to the grids, elemental variety, angular variety in the literal sense. Why don't they have to be squares? Let them be triangles, etc., etc. And I guarantee you the fans will come. In fact, if they tried to make a physical card game off of Battle Network, now that it's back with the proper promotion and doing the opposite of what Konami does with Yu-Gi-Oh!, I can almost guarantee that that one will be successful. Now, I guess that brings us into the honorable mentions, or just something near and dear to my heart I want to get off my chest. Mega Man X Command Mission was an RPG that was made with a shared budget that was also factored into Mega Man X8. Keiji Inafune didn't want to make it because, well, he just decided to disobey his own supervisors. He was told, you're making a Mega Man X RPG, and then he immediately said no and then made someone else do it on his behalf. Because according to him, and this is barely paraphrased, Mega Man has to be an action series. He's not meant to be an RPG. First off, motherfucker, why are you acting like you don't know what an action RPG is? But that's a whole nother matter we can get into, and I don't really want to start in on Inafune. That man deserves his own documentary for the random levels of somehow creativity, corruption, and just plain old delusion and ignorance. I don't even know if I truly respect that guy, because some things, you know, you can blame on age and era, and some things it's more like, so you just said it and you act like you're right. You know you're wrong, but you just got away with it. Again, we'd be here all day. The main focus is his creation though, not him the person. When it comes to Command Mission, this was one of the first times we truly saw a story being told where the characters get to properly emote. There's actual dialogue outside of just meeting a boss. And even though it was extremely short, I mean, I wouldn't even call it an RPG, the fact that it's under 12 hours, if you really try, it deserves, and I do mean it deserves, to have its day. Not to mention, I still can't tell, is it a side story or is it an alternate timeline? It really confuses me, because at the end of that game, the characters are stranded and they're waiting to be picked up, or they're going to teleport back to their HQ. Whereas in X8, they're coming down from an orbital elevator, and Axel may be infected or may have some type of new evolution that may be the reason that we have biometals in the future in the ZX Advent series. There's so many ways to tie things together. But the Command Mission is capable of standing on its own legs. I would say make it into a legitimate action RPG. Completely rip off the entire combat system of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, because I can promise you it's worth it. It'll be worth everyone's time. Yes, some small redesigns will be preferred, but really you can just take the X8 model, which is make sure they don't have bulky ass legs that theoretically would scrape each other every time you make a footstep, and you're good to go. Zero's helmet did get weird when they tried to shorten the whatever that shit is on the side of his helmet that goes above his actual helmet. Horns? Do they count as horns? I don't think anyone really knows. And you know what? Show the characters when they're not wearing armor. They've had graphic novels where they're not wearing armor. We've never seen any, to my knowledge, official artwork where they do more than just take off a helmet. Let's see X and Zero and the gang wearing traditional sci-fi modern clothing for the era. Let them actually have a life. What does X do when he's not working as an irregular maverick hunter? Does Zero practice his sword technique, or since it's all from memory, he has a lot of free time? Leia has a big old crush on Zero. Alia could help her out with that. There are so many ways you could make this work. Make Leia and Alia playable. Team attack stuff. Like I said, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. And you don't have to have them saving the world. They could just stop a local threat. We've never had anyone in the series truly interact with human beings. Let Command Mission be that series. Please. Please. Now, I guess with that being said, that brings me to my last part, because I did plan on keeping this video in under 30 minutes, which, yay, I met my goal. Mega Man Future. Personally, I would like it if there was a, for lack of a better term, new Mega Man. Let him literally be the lost Mega Man at the end of his journey. He's met every single Mega Man there is or will be. He doesn't have to disclose everything. He can meet X, he can meet Legends, he can meet Z, ZX, all that good stuff. And you know what? For no reason at all, he even went into an alternate dimension where he met Battle Network. Okay? Listen. Let's have a Mega Man try to fix his own future. Let's let Mega Man go on an adventure with like-minded individuals or people who can temporarily help him. Have him discover Dr. Light, have him discover Roll. Maybe he finds an alternate version of X or that final X from after the Elf Wars or something like that, and temporarily have all these characters, not all of them in one game, mind you, be playable, interact with future Mega Man in some form of an adventure-based format. But the cool thing about this one is everyone is using their own abilities, because most of the people they fight they can't gain an ability from. So they have to get armor modifications from people like Data, Roll, who's also older or whatever, and also, you know, some version of Dr. Light. The biometals decided to help him out and they evolve his programming and operating system. There's so many things you can do with Mega Man. Mega Man is the equivalent of a potato. He can be as boring and bland as you want, but if you take your time with it, you season it, you add little garnishes, you can make it artisanal, gourmet, whatever other bullshit term there is for. Let's find a way to make a mashed potato expensive to eat. Don't get me wrong, I got no problem with people making gourmet artisan stuff out of the most basic food ingredients. But Mega Man is meant to be malleable, whether it was by design or by complete and total sheer coincidence. So if he's meant to be malleable, and he becomes malleable throughout his own games when he fights enemies, why is it that his base franchise can't be malleable? But yeah, let me know how you feel. And we're back. Alright, so, Officer, let me ask you first. Any notes on what I said? Likes, dislikes, that kind of thing?
Well, considering all that you mentioned there, most of it is, actually probably all of it, is stuff that I can definitely agree on. I just maybe might add one possible idea for a sort of, if they want to recreate Mega Man, maybe have it where they do a new game, where instead of, say, your... Alright. Had to cough, sorry. Instead of your, you know, coming up with something completely new, they could just bring back some of the original content. Like, maybe they have a story that is maybe somewhat similar, but throw in a twist in that the various, you know, powers that, you know, Mega Man gets from beating bosses, maybe instead of giving it as a reward at the, you know, end of the stage of, hey, now you got this new fancy power, maybe they give you a new fancy power at the beginning of a stage and have the stage designed so that using that new power would be, you know, necessary for completing that stage. And then once you get past those initial stages that introduce your new powers, start introducing stages that have combinations of, okay, you have to use this ability and this ability to get through the stage. Or, you know, going back to the... Because I see Mega Man as having kind of two main formulas, if you will. There was, you know, the standard jump and shoot man, and the Battle Network kind, which I can't say I have much to add to the Battle Network ones that you didn't already mention, of adding additional types of tiles, multiple levels of tiles, which, yeah, we're pretty much in agreement on there. I can't really think of much else other than that to add to the Battle Network formula that you didn't already mention. But for your more standard Mega Man games, I think having more than just the 10 to 12 stages, maybe get it up to 20 or so. You have your 8 initial stages, maybe possibly 9 if they want to introduce a 9th power, I don't know. But where you get these initial abilities, see how they work, and then go into stages that combine them creatively. But other than that, I don't really have much to comment on for story-wise, because we're, again, mostly in agreement there.
I just want to let everyone here know, as I previously mentioned, or you heard during the recorded dialogue, Mega Man is malleable, and it seems like he was intentionally or unintentionally designed to be malleable. Either way, we're not saying Capcom makes terrible games on purpose or they did a terrible job all the time. Let me be clear. We're just stating the current state of Mega Man is terrible because they keep making him interesting, more popular, and they keep re-releasing and selling the games that were interesting and the most popular in collections. But they keep claiming nothing is coming, something is coming, while simultaneously telling us we don't know what to do with them, / we do know what to do with them. There's too many paradoxes with Mega Man. How is he one of your most famous characters and most popular mascots and franchises, but he has no new titles, and the one title he did have is like 3 or 4 years old at this point, and the formula was barely evolved. How is it you keep making spin-offs that are very interesting and unique from the original source material, but then you don't know what to do now? There's too many different conflicting situations. I think from a corporate standpoint, they know the handling of Mega Man currently has been embarrassing. And they know they can't say that because also Mega Man merchandise sells. Mega Man franchise makes money.
Yep.
But
there's still plenty of fans, and we still like it.
But from the consumer standpoint, we are in a drought. And the only response they've got is, look, here's these things you already bought and played that you lost access to. Or they don't run on hardware that functions correctly anymore. And there might not be people around to fix them, or the parts to fix them don't even exist anymore. You know?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we're not here to go, Capcom, fuck you for what you did for Mega Man, how dare you. We're here to just state, hey Capcom, here are some options. Don't act like you don't know these exist. We'd love to help you directly, but as a collective group, you would have to whittle down to get to people who have that balance of they know right from wrong and they're not just going to treat Mega Man as if he's their personal plaything and just do what they themselves want to, because the fan base has so many different deviations. Because at the core of a Mega Man fan, they have affinity towards certain Mega Men. You like Mega Man growing up, that doesn't necessarily mean you like X or that you will touch Battle Network. You like Battle Network, most of the Battle Network people I met, they wouldn't even dream of touching Mega Man original unless they're like over in the over 40 category. It's different for everybody. So please, Capcom, just understand this is meant to be constructive criticism.
We like Mega Man. We want to see more of it. But we want to see something new.
And I think he had a CG movie. I never even got around to seeing it. Or he was supposed to have he was supposed to have a TV show, but it got canceled with a completely different form. It was weird.
Did they? Can't say I heard about that one.
Yeah, it was gonna be made by Action Man, the dude who did Action Man, the show, and Ben 10, that group.
Okay.
I don't even know if that thing even came out the fuck out.
Though, to be honest, I also was like mostly unaware of the MegaMan ZX stuff.
See what I mean?
I might have to go and look into that.
To be fair, they really stopped advertising and marketing to North America when it came to the handheld games. They gave Japan commercials, and sometimes we got the commercials over in America, or we got subtitles in English for these Japanese commercials on YouTube. And that was about it. The only marketing I even remember for ZX and ZX Advent was like X-Play rated the game, if memory serves. This is crazy to think about, but that was it. That's as far as it went. So it's not like this is a recent development of we don't know what to do with MegaMan now. No, it seems like you've been floundering with what the fuck to do with MegaMan for close to 20 years now. And as has been implied by a lot, and I do mean a lot of ex-Capcom and current Capcom employees, they don't value any of the old franchises unless they think there's money involved with them. So Onimusha sold well, Battle Network sold well, X sold well. I don't know if the Mega Man collection sold well. So, but still nothing has been said to us. The only thing has been there's been an implication that there will be a X9. That's it. And Legend 3 got canceled years ago.
Yeah.
So as far as I'm concerned, fucking someone should have made this video a long time ago. But yeah, that's enough about how we feel.